The salt air through my office window had smelled the same for 42 years. Cedar and diesel fuel, seaweed and old rope. Some mornings I could taste it before I even opened my eyes. That Friday morning in late September, I was at my desk before sunrise, the way I'd been doing since 1982 when I bought my first cargo vessel with a Navy discharge bonus and a mortgage that terrified my late wife. The harbor was still dark, but I could see the running lights of the early fishing boats heading out past the breakwater. My coffee had gone cold in its mug. I didn't mind. I'd learned in the Navy that comfort was a luxury, not a requirement. The ledger in front of me showed 42 years of numbers. Black ink, mostly. A few years of red that still made my jaw tighten when I remembered them. 3 hurricanes, 2 recessions. 1 strike that nearly broke us. But we'd survived. Mitchell Maritime had survived. And I'd been preparing, for the last 18 months, to hand it over to my son. Michael was 35, good man. Worked his way up from the docks, loading containers in the summer heat when he was 17. Got his business degree at night school while running routes during the day. Married a good woman, Sarah, who understood the life. They had 2 little ones, Emma and Jack. I'd been thinking about teaching Jack to tie a bowline. He was almost 5, the right age. I heard footsteps on the dock outside. 2 sets. Michael's I recognized. The other was lighter, quicker. That would be Alex Chen, Michael's business partner. They'd met at business school. Smart kid, MBA from Wharton, 32 years old with ideas about automation and logistics, software, and market disruption. I didn't understand half of what he talked about, but Michael seemed to think he was brilliant. I hadn't gotten up from my chair when they came in. I was looking at the morning tide chart, making notes about the container shipment due in from Halifax. My hands, calused and steady, held the same mechanical pencil I'd been using since 1987. "Morning, Dad," Michael said. He had his mother's smile. It was the thing about him that still caught me off guard sometimes. "Morning, son." I looked up. "Alex?" Alex Chen nodded but didn't sit. He was wearing what he always wore. Expensive sneakers, dark jeans, a polo shirt with a tech company logo I didn't recognize. He held his phone in one hand, checking it every few seconds like it might disappear if he looked away. "We need to talk about the transition," Michael said. He sat down across from me. Alex remained standing, moving toward the window that overlooked the harbor. I'd been planning this transition for 18 months. The paperwork was drawn up, 75% of the company to Michael, 25% to Alex. At Michael's insistence, they'd been talking about modernizing, expanding into new markets. Some of it made sense to me, most of it didn't, but I trusted my son's judgment. "I've got the final documents ready," I said. "Lawyer says we can sign next Thursday. Transfer goes through on the 1st of October. "That's what we wanted to discuss," Alex said. He didn't turn around from the window. The timeline and the structure. I waited. In the Navy, I'd learned that the man who speaks first loses ground. Michael shifted in his chair. "Alex has some thoughts about how we should handle the operational transition." "I'm listening," I said. Alex turned around then. He had his phone in both hands now, like he was reading from notes. "Mitchell Maritime has strong fundamentals. The client relationships are solid. The infrastructure is decent, though outdated. But the management philosophy is, frankly, stuck in the last century." I felt something tighten in my chest. I didn't say anything. "We've been analyzing the operational data," Alex continued. "Response times, customer service protocols, vendor relationships. It's all very traditional, very relationship-based. But modern logistics is about data, about efficiency, about cutting out the redundancies." "Redundancies," I repeated. "The way you do business, Robert. Coffee meetings with dock managers. Handshake deals with shipping agents you've known for 30 years. Birthday cards to the guys who run the warehouses. It's admirable, in a nostalgic way, but it's not scalable." Michael was looking at his hands. He wasn't meeting my eyes. "What Alex means," Michael said quietly, "is that we need to streamline, modernize the approach." "I understand what he means," I said. I kept my voice level. "What I don't understand is why we're having this conversation 5 days before the transfer." Alex sat down then, across from me next to Michael. He leaned forward, earnest. Because we need you to understand the vision, Robert. Michael and I have been working on this for months. We've got venture capital interested. Real money. We can triple the fleet in 3 years if we're willing to make the hard choices. Hard choices, I said. We need to cut the dead weight, Alex said. The old guard. The guys who've been here since the 80s. Who think they can run routes the way they did when everything was done with paper manifests and radio calls. We need to implement automation, dynamic routing software, algorithmic load optimization. I looked at my son. Michael? He finally met my eyes. Dad, the industry is changing. If we don't change with it, we'll be obsolete in 5 years. Alex is right about that. So this is about the men who've worked for me for 30 years, I said. The men who showed up during the hurricane in '03 to save the boats. The men who took pay cuts during the recession so we wouldn't have to close. It's not personal, Alex said. It's business. And frankly, Robert, it's time for your generation to step back and let the people who understand modern commerce take over. There it was. The thing that had been hovering in the air since they walked in. I set down my pencil, very carefully. I looked at this young man, 32 years old, sitting in my office, in the building I'd bought with a second mortgage in 1989, telling me it was time for my generation to step back. Let me make sure I understand, I said. You want me to sign over 75% of this company to my son, and 25% to you. And then you want me to step back while you fire the men who've been keeping these boats running for decades. And you want me to do this because my generation doesn't understand modern commerce. That's reductive, Alex said. But essentially, yes. I looked at Michael. This is what you want? My son hesitated. That hesitation told me everything I needed to know. Dad, I want the company to survive, to thrive. Alex has connections, capital, expertise that I don't have. I see, I said. I stood up then, slowly. I was 67 years old, but I'd kept myself in shape. 6-mile runs 3 times a week. I could still tie off a cargo net if I needed to. I walked to the window and looked out at the harbor. The sun was coming up now, painting the water orange and gold. When's your next meeting with these venture capital people? I asked. Tuesday, Alex said. They're flying up from New York. We're presenting the expansion plan. They're talking about a $12 million investment over 3 years. $12 million, I said. That's right, Alex said. But they want to see a clean organizational structure. They want to know that we're not going to be bogged down by legacy thinking. They want to see a modern operation. I nodded slowly. I was thinking about Frank Delgado, who'd been my dock supervisor for 28 years. I was thinking about Patricia Morrison, who ran the admin office and knew every client by name, knew their kids' names, sent flowers when someone died. I was thinking about Tom Whitaker, our head mechanic, who could diagnose an engine problem by sound alone, who'd saved us hundreds of thousands in repair costs over the years. Legacy thinking. I need to make some calls, I said. I'll need until Monday to think about this. Monday's fine, Alex said. He was smiling now. That gives us a day before the investor meeting to finalize everything. They left. I heard their footsteps on the dock, heard Alex's voice carrying across the water, something about market projections and growth metrics. I stood at the window for a long time after they were gone. Then I sat down at my desk and picked up the phone. The first call was to my lawyer, David Brennan. We'd served together in the Navy. He'd gone to law school on the GI Bill, the same time I'd bought my first boat. David, I said when he answered, I need you to halt the transfer. All of it. Don't file anything on Thursday. There was a pause. Bob, we've been working on this for 18 months. Everything's ready. What's going on? Just hold everything, I said. I'll explain later. Can you do that? Of course, he said. But the venture capital meeting, I know about the meeting, I said. Hold everything. The second call was to Patricia Morrison. Patricia, I need you to pull the contracts for our vendor relationships. All of them. The warehouses, the shipping agents, the dock facilities. I need to know who we have handshake deals with versus formal contracts. She didn't ask questions. That was Patricia. 30 years of working together meant she knew when to trust my tone. "I'll have it by this afternoon," she said. The third call was harder. I called my daughter, Jennifer. She was 42, lived in Portland, taught marine biology at the university. She'd never wanted anything to do with the business, but she understood people better than anyone I knew. She got that from her mother. "Dad," she answered, "it's barely 7. Are you okay? I need to ask you something about your brother," I said. I told her about the meeting, about Alex's comments, about the venture capital and the plan to cut the old guard. When I finished, there was a long silence. "Oh, Michael," she said quietly, "what are you doing? You think I'm wrong?" I asked. "Maybe the kid is right. Maybe I am stuck in the last century. Dad, you built something that lasted 42 years through every disaster imaginable. You did it by treating people like they mattered, like they were more than just efficiency metrics. If Michael's willing to throw that away for venture capital money, then he's not ready for what you built." "He's my son," I said. "I know," Jennifer said, "and you love him. But sometimes love means not giving someone something they're not ready to protect." After I hung up, I sat in my office for a long time. The sun was full up now. I could see the morning shift arriving. Frank Delgado was early, the way he always was. He was 61 years old. He'd been planning to retire in 4 years, once his youngest finished college. I wondered if he'd make it to retirement under Alex's modern operation. I picked up the phone again. By Sunday evening, I'd made 47 calls. Some were short, some lasted hours. I talked to warehouse managers in Halifax and Charleston. I talked to shipping agents in Newark and Baltimore. I talked to the captain of every vessel in our fleet. I talked to our insurance brokers, our fuel suppliers, our equipment vendors. I didn't tell them what to do. I just told them what was coming, that there was a plan to modernize Mitchell Maritime, that the new management was looking at efficiency metrics and algorithmic optimization, that the old way of doing business, the handshake deals, and the relationship management was considered dead weight. I told them the transfer was supposed to happen on Thursday, and I told them I was reconsidering. The responses were immediate. By Monday morning, my phone was ringing before I got to the office. The first call was from Marcus Webb, who ran the warehouse facility in Charleston. "Bob, I've been doing business with you for 19 years. You've never missed a payment. You've never lied to me. You've treated my people with respect. If you're out, I'm out. I can't work with some kid who thinks a spreadsheet knows more than human judgment." The second call was from the captain of our largest vessel, the Patricia M., named after my wife, Patricia Mitchell, who died of cancer in 2016. Captain Rodriguez had sailed for us for 17 years. "Skipper," he said, "he still called me that. From my Navy days, you tell me what you need." By noon, I had responses from 32 of the 47 people I'd called. The message was consistent. If I wasn't running Mitchell Maritime, they weren't interested in doing business with Mitchell Maritime. The meeting with the venture capital investors was scheduled for Tuesday at 2 p.m. It was going to be held at a conference room Michael had rented in downtown Portland. High floor, harbor view, catered lunch. Alex had told me I was welcome to attend if I wanted to see how modern pitch meetings work. I didn't go. Instead, I stayed in my office and made more calls. At 3:15 p.m., my phone rang. It was Michael. "Dad, what did you do?" I could hear the panic in his voice. I'd heard that tone before, when he was 16 and wrecked my truck, when he was 24 and his first business venture failed. My son, scared and confused. "What do you mean?" I asked. "The investors just walked out," he said. "They asked about our vendor relationships, our fleet operations, our warehouse contracts. When Alex started explaining the efficiency models, they asked to see the actual contracts. Dad, half our operations are based on handshake deals with people who've been calling me all morning saying they won't work with us if you're not involved." "I see," I said. "The lead investor said, 'We don't have a viable business without you,'" Michael said. "He said our entire operation is built on your personal relationships, not on infrastructure. He said it's not scalable. He pulled the funding, Dad. All 12 million, gone." I didn't say anything. Alex is losing it, Michael continued. He's saying you sabotaged us, that you poisoned the well because you can't handle modern business practices. Is that what you think? I asked. There was a long pause. I don't know what to think. Come to the office, I said. Both of you. We'll talk. They checked an hour later. Alex came in first, his face red, his phone clutched in his hand like a weapon. Michael followed, looking like he hadn't slept. I was standing at the window again, watching the evening tide come in. I didn't turn around when they entered. You destroyed us, Alex said immediately. Do you understand that? You destroyed the company to protect your ego. I turned around then. Slowly, I looked at this young man, 32 years old, who'd never spent a day on a boat, never tied a cargo line, never sat with a widow to explain why her husband's pension would still be paid, even though he died 3 months before retirement. I didn't destroy anything, I said quietly. I made some phone calls. I told the truth to people I've worked with for decades. That's all. You told them not to work with us, Alex said. No, I said. I told them what you were planning. I told them you considered their way of doing business to be dead weight. I told them you wanted to replace relationships with algorithms. They made their own choices. This is insane, Alex said. He turned to Michael. Tell him he just killed any chance we had at growth, at survival. Michael was looking at me, just looking. I could see something shifting behind his eyes. Alex, Michael said quietly, can you give us a minute? What? No. We need to fix this. We need to salvage. Please, Michael said. Just give me a minute with my father. Alex stared at him, then at me. Then he walked out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the old photographs on the wall. Michael sat down. He put his head in his hands. I messed up, he said. I walked over and sat down across from him, the same chair I'd been sitting in when they came in Friday morning. Tell me what you were thinking, I said. I wanted to build something bigger, he said. I wanted to prove I could take what you'd made and expand it. Alex made it sound so simple. Modern systems, venture capital, aggressive growth. He said we could turn this into a regional powerhouse. At what cost? I asked. I know, he said. I know, Dad. When those investors asked about our operations, and I started explaining how it works, how Frank knows every dock supervisor from here to Halifax, how Patricia has relationships with clients going back 30 years, how Captain Rodriguez can navigate routes based on experience and instinct that no algorithm could replicate, I realized that's not dead weight. That's the entire foundation. That's what you built. That's what we built, I said. You've been part of this for 18 years, son. You know these people. You know how this works. Alex said I was being sentimental, Michael said. He said business is about numbers, not relationships. Business is about people, I said. Numbers are just how we keep score. But if you forget the people, the numbers don't matter. Frank Delgado has been showing up at this dock for 28 years. You know why? Because when his daughter needed surgery and his insurance wouldn't cover it, I made sure she got it anyway. Because when Patricia's husband had a stroke, we kept paying him for 6 months while she took care of him. Because when Tom Whitaker's son got into trouble, I vouched for him with the judge and gave him a job. I remember, Michael said quietly. That's not inefficiency, I said. That's investment. Those people would run through fire for this company, not because of a paycheck, because they know they matter. That's what Alex wanted you to throw away for venture capital. Michael was quiet for a long time. What happens now? He asked finally. I pulled out the transfer documents from my desk drawer. All of them. 18 months of legal work. These papers would have given you and Alex control of this company, I said. 75% to you, 25% to him. I was going to sign them Thursday. Were, Michael said. Were, I agreed. I made some changes over the weekend. David drew up new documents. I slid a folder across the desk. Michael opened it and read. I watched his face. This gives me 60%, he said. It gives you 35%. It eliminates Alex entirely, and it includes provisions that require consultation with the senior crew on any operational changes. That's right, I said. You'll run the company. But you'll run it with the people who know how it works. And I'll be there as advisor, not as dead weight. Dad, I don't deserve this. Probably not, I said. But I'm not doing this for what you deserve. I'm doing it because you're my son. And because 5 minutes ago you looked at those investors and realized that everything I built matters. That the people matter. That's what I needed to see. What about Alex? Alex can find another company to optimize, I said. This one isn't for sale. Michael sat back in his chair. He looked around the office, at the photographs of boats we'd owned over the years, at the framed newspaper clipping from when we'd won the safety award in 2008, at the model of the Patricia M on the shelf. I almost threw this all away, he said. But you didn't, I said. You almost did. That's different. He nodded slowly. Then he stood up and reached across the desk. We shook hands. His grip was firm. He'd learned that from working the docks, from tying lines and hauling cargo. After he left, I called David Brennan. We're good to proceed, I said. New documents. Michael and I are signing Thursday. No one else. And Alex Chen? Out, I said. I'll write him a check for his consulting time. He'll deposit it and find some other company to disrupt. Bob, David said, you just walked away from $12 million in venture capital. I walked away from $12 million in debt and interference, I said. The company's fine. We'll grow at our pace. We'll take care of our people. That's always been enough. Thursday morning came clear and cold. October weather, the kind of morning when you could see your breath on the dock. Michael and I signed the papers in David's office. Patricia Morrison and Frank Delgado came as witnesses. Afterward, we all went to the diner down by the waterfront. The same diner where I'd eaten breakfast every Friday for 40 years. Frank ordered the corned beef hash. He always did. So we're not getting automated? He asked. We're getting some new software, Michael said. But nobody's losing their job. And I promise I'll never call you deadweight again. You didn't call me deadweight, Frank said. That was the kid with the fancy sneakers. Yeah, Michael said. About him. Don't worry about it, Frank said. Every generation's got a few who think they invented business. They usually learn, or they don't, and they fail. You learned. Patricia raised her coffee cup. To learning, she said. We drank to that. That evening, I was back in my office, finishing up some paperwork. The sun was setting over the harbor, painting everything gold again. My phone rang. It was Jennifer. So, she said, did he sign the new documents? He did, I said. And Alex? Gone, I said. $30,000 check for his consulting time. He cashed it this afternoon. Last I heard, he's talking to some tech startup in Boston about disrupting their logistics. Jennifer laughed. Good riddance. How's Michael? He's learning, I said. He'll make mistakes, but he understands now that this business isn't built on algorithms. It's built on the people who show up every day and do the work. That's what Mom always said about you, Jennifer said. That you never forgot the work, that you never thought you were above it. Your mother was smarter than all of us, I said. After I hung up, I sat for a while in the quiet. The tide was going out. I could see the Patricia M at anchor in the deeper water. Captain Rodriguez would be taking her out tomorrow for a run to Halifax. 7 containers of electronics, 2 of auto parts, 3 of textiles. I knew the cargo by heart. I'd approved the manifest that morning. My father used to say that a man's legacy isn't measured in money. It's measured in whether the people who knew him are better for having known him. I thought about the 47 calls I'd made over the weekend, not to sabotage, not to destroy, just to tell the truth to people who deserved to hear it. And they'd made their choices. They'd chosen relationships over efficiency metrics. They'd chosen loyalty over optimization. They'd chosen the handshake over the algorithm. Maybe that made us dinosaurs. Maybe Alex was right, and we were stuck in the last century. Maybe in 10 years or 20, some other young genius with an MBA would come along and prove that everything we believed was obsolete. But I didn't think so. Because I'd seen 42 years of storms and recessions and strikes and disasters. And the thing that got us through every single one wasn't software or venture capital or dynamic routing algorithms. It was Frank Delgado showing up at 4 in the morning when a boat was in trouble. It was Patricia Morrison working 16-hour days during the recession so we wouldn't have to lay anyone off. It was Captain Rodriguez navigating through a hurricane to get a medical shipment to a hospital that needed it. That's what Alex would never understand. That business isn't about disrupting, it's about building. And you can't build anything that lasts if you're not willing to invest in the people who do the work. I locked up the office and walked out onto the dock. The night air was cold now. I could smell winter coming. In another month, we'd be winterizing the smaller boats. In another month, I'd be teaching my grandson Jack how to tie a bowline. 5 years old, the right age. The lights of the harbor reflected on the black water. Somewhere out there, a fishing boat was heading home, its deck lights bright against the dark. I stood and watched it for a while. Then I walked to my truck and drove home. The company would go on. Mitchell Maritime, built on handshakes and relationships and treating people like they mattered. Built on the old way, the right way, my way. And now, if he was smart enough to protect it, my son's way too.